Thanks for joining us for the Tuesday edition of the Fun Astrology Podcast. Thomas Miller coming to you from the road again. Glad to be back in the van, having fun here. But I'm going to get right into it because I want to make sure that we cover all these other aspects. Yesterday we talked about the 4 for this week. Yesterday was Venus trining Chiron. Today at 10:34 p.m. Eastern Time, the Sun squares Uranus. Because I somewhat live in a bubble on the side of a mountain, I love to keep in touch with our Facebook group, Subconscious Mind Mastery and Fun Astrology Podcast listeners. It's a private group on Facebook. You're welcome to join. You just have to answer the questions. And I love to hear what other people are experiencing. But this past week, been hearing from some people who have high ground spiritual practices, and myself included in this, from what happened last week and last weekend. Yes, going through these interesting disruptions, shall we say. Well, see, Uranus is slowing down because it goes retrograde in 2 weeks, basically, the 28th on Monday. When planets slow down, their characteristics amp up. So if you've been experiencing it, if you've been feeling it, today is the crescendo. And that means that after today, very slowly, that will start to fade out a little bit. But this is the sun. This is affecting you and me individually. And it's a square aspect, so that simply means that there is tension in the space. So Uranus is throwing us some very unexpected curveballs in some instances to get us to look at certain pockets of our life. As we mentioned yesterday, where the sun is, where Uranus is, where other aspects are to those two planets, the signs, the houses, the whole picture is where this is affecting you in your life. Now, we're not by any means out of the woods because tomorrow we have one of those Earth trines that we mentioned yesterday. Mars trines Uranus tomorrow. Mars is in Virgo, Uranus is in Taurus, both Earth signs, and that happens in the morning at 9:53 a.m. Obviously, the common thing you heard there was Uranus, sudden surprises, sudden changes. We did an episode on Old Soul, New Soul recently here. It's one of the last couple of 3, where Robert mentioned that Uranus also represents where our genius lies, sometimes unlocked genius, hidden genius, unrecognized genius. So here is again, we said get some pen and paper because you're going to want to capture these. Uranus in your chart would be worth exploring over these next couple of weeks. Get familiar with it, maybe in a whole new way. Then we mentioned Saturday is the sun trining the north node of the moon, meaning it will sextile the south node of the moon. But now let's turn the page just for the sake of time and look at the rest of this landscape, and then we'll come back over the next episodes and pick these things apart. But I want you to know where we're headed. Next Tuesday, the 22nd, that's a late degree opposition. So Mars at 27 degrees in Virgo, the opposite sign is Pisces. That's where you find Neptune at 27 degrees. Neptune, of course, is in retrograde. I'll just mention again, the retrograde calendar for the rest of this year, nice and neat and clean in order, is on the funastrology.com website right at the top, which is perfect because on Wednesday of next week, Mercury goes retrograde. What's significant about that is it overlaps Venus, which will not turn direct until the following, not the next, but the following Sunday. So we'll have a week and a half of Mercury and Venus in retrograde. That begins next Wednesday. Then on Thursday, Mars trines Pluto. And I'll tell you, with all that's going on in the world today, I'm so glad that's a triangle and not a square. We'll take the trine, right? It could be powerful, whatever it is, coming up next week. And see, we're building into this every day. Following weekend, Sun is opposite Saturn. That's on the 27th. Now, I'm trying to do this where your eyes don't gloss over, but I really do want you to see the big picture where we're having these little intersections and bombardments with these challenging potentialities. The following week begins on Monday with Uranus going retrograde. That's on the 28th. And really that whole week is retrograde focused because on Monday, the 28th, Uranus goes retrograde. Then the following Sunday, we don't have much that whole week. In fact, we would be really light. You might be listening to some audiobook excerpts that week because it is so light. But then on Sunday, the 3rd of September, Venus goes direct. And then on Monday, the 4th of September, Jupiter goes retrograde. The two benefics, one turns direct, one goes into retrograde. So if even listening to that, you feel like the lottery ball pinball machine, boing, 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 boing. Yeah, that's the energy that we're going to be feeling over the next, for the rest of this month. What planets are getting stronger? A lot of them, because Mercury is next. That's the 23rd. That's next Wednesday. And so it's obviously getting stronger. Uranus, we mentioned, Venus starting to slow down again to go direct, and then Jupiter also slowing down. So good time to catch Lord Jupiter right now, but then after September 4th, we're not going to have Jupiter's expansive abilities working in our forward progress for literally the rest of the year. It stays in retrograde until December 31st. So if you have any new things to launch that you would want Jupiter's tailwind, now to the end of the month is a great time because it's more powerful. After that, it's going to be more of a working on and letting soak what you've already developed, more than creating new and expecting at least that Jupiter thrust to be with you. Wow. And the interesting thing too is we have these points, and then in between these points is a lot of nothing. So it's like we get time to work these things in. We get some reprieves where as long as we stay focusing on the next couple of things ahead of us, I think that's going to be the key here for the rest of the month. Let's just focus on the things that are in front of us, integrate those into our lives, learn the lessons, capture the things that we're supposed to, and then we move on to the next and anticipate the next few things. So we have the new moon tomorrow in Leo early, 5:37 in the morning, and then we'll talk about that tomorrow. But you are applying to that all day, and all those planets that we mentioned are all getting stronger. That's worth keeping in the back of your mind. Oh, I hope this helps as you encounter these various opportunities and synchronicities, and we'll stay right here with it all the way through. Thanks so much for listening. Have a wonderful Tuesday. I'll see you back tomorrow for Hump Day.